This is Reddit Family Secrets. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd love to know your thoughts about this story and what you think about the characters and their decisions. Share your thoughts in the comments. Enjoy the story. My wife's champagne glass slipped from her fingers the moment I walked through that door. Not dropped, slipped, like her brain had temporarily disconnected from her body. The crystal shattered against marble, spraying golden liquid across her shoes. But Amanda didn't even look down. She was too busy staring at me. More specifically, at the woman whose hand I was holding. Lindsay, her husband's wife. And we had a plan. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back 4 months to a Tuesday evening in our Charlotte townhouse, to the exact moment I realized my marriage was already over. I just didn't know it yet. Marcus, if I have to listen to another one of your philosophical monologues about connection and intimacy, I swear I'll scream. That sentence landed like a slap. Amanda stood in our kitchen doorway, designer handbag over one shoulder, looking at me with the kind of exhausted disdain usually reserved for telemarketers. We'd been married 8 years. 8 years of building what I thought was a partnership. Apparently, I'd been building alone. I'm sorry my feelings are such an inconvenience, I said, keeping my voice level. I thought we were supposed to talk about this stuff. Amanda sighed like I'd asked her to explain quantum physics to a toddler. We can talk, Marcus. Just not right now. I'm meeting Rachel and Sophie for dinner, and I'm already late. She checked her reflection in the hallway mirror, smoothing hair that didn't need smoothing. Don't wait up. The door closed with a soft click. Final. Dismissive. I sat there on our sectional sofa, the one we'd spent 3 weekends picking out together in happier times, and stare at my phone. 11:47 p.m. glowed back at me. Amanda still wasn't home. Then my phone vibrated. Unknown number. She's not having dinner with Rachel and Sophie. She's with my husband. My stomach dropped. I read it again. Then again. Another message appeared. If you want proof, meet me tomorrow. 10 a.m. The daily grind on Providence Road. Come alone. I looked at the timestamp on Amanda's last text. Running late. Love you. Sent at 6:43 p.m. I pulled up our phone records. We share an account. Her location services were off. They'd been off for 2 months, I realized with dawning horror. 2 months, and I'd never questioned it. Something fundamental shifted in me that night. Not anger. Not yet. Just a cold, creeping certainty that everything I thought I knew was built on sand. The daily grind smelled like burnt espresso and cinnamon. I sat in a corner booth, hands wrapped around a coffee I couldn't taste, watching the door. She arrived exactly at 10. Lindsay moved with purpose, slim, blonde, probably mid-30s. She wore yoga pants and an oversized Duke sweatshirt. No makeup, hair in a messy bun. She looked like someone who'd stopped caring about appearances because appearances had stopped mattering. Marcus? She asked quietly. I nodded. She sat down, no preamble. My husband's name is Derek Shun. He's a financial advisor. Your wife met him at that networking event for the Charlotte Chamber of Commerce last spring. The one at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I remembered. Amanda had been so excited about it. Said she was making connections for her marketing consultancy. Said it was good for business. How long? I asked. 6 months. Maybe longer. Lindsay pulled out her phone, opened a folder, and slid it across the table. I found these 3 weeks ago. Screenshots. Dozens of them. Text threads between Amanda and someone saved as D. The messages were explicit. Hotels. Afternoon meetups at a condo Derek apparently kept for clients. Photos I recognized immediately. Amanda in lingerie I'd never seen her wear for me. My coffee went cold in my hand. There's more, Lindsay said. Her voice was steady, but I could hear the tremor underneath. Last night, Derek told me he had a client dinner in Uptown. I checked our credit card statement this morning. Sophia's Ristorante. 2 entrees, 2 desserts, a bottle of wine that cost more than our mortgage payment. The same restaurant Amanda had claimed to be at with her friends. We sat in silence. The coffee shop bustled around us. College students typing papers, retirees reading newspapers. Normal people living normal lives while ours imploded in slow motion. I want to follow them, Lindsay said finally. Document everything. Not because I need more proof. I have plenty. But because I need to see it. Does that make sense? It did. God help me, it did. What are you suggesting? I asked. Partner up. Compare notes. Follow them together. Build a case so airtight they can't gaslight us when we finally confront them. She leaned forward. I'm a paralegal, Marcus. I know what divorce attorneys need. Photos, timestamps, locations, patterns. I want to give them nothing to work with except their signatures on papers. I should have said no. Should have gone straight to a lawyer. Should have done 100 things differently. Instead, I said, when do we start? It started small. Too small, almost. Just surveillance. Thursday evening, Lindsay and I sat in her Honda CR-V 3 blocks from Gallery Restaurant in South End. They'd gone in 20 minutes earlier. Amanda in a black dress I bought her for our anniversary. Derek in a suit that probably cost $3,000. They're holding hands under the table, Lindsay said softly, lowering her camera with the telephoto lens. She's laughing. The kind of laugh where you throw your head back. I knew that laugh. It used to be mine. She handed me the camera. Through the lens, I watched Amanda touch Derek's face. Gentle, intimate, the way you touch someone you've already decided to build a future with. I haven't seen her smile like that in a year, I heard myself say. Lindsay's hand found mine. Not romantic, just human contact. I know. Together, not touching in the parking lot, but close enough. Professional. Practiced. Lindsay photographed everything. Timestamps. License plates. The room number when Derek's figure appeared briefly in a third-floor window. We built a file. Dates, locations, credit card statements Lindsay had access to, restaurant reservations I found in Amanda's email when she left her laptop open. Tuesday nights and Thursday afternoons. Always the same pattern. But we also started talking. Really talking. In parking lots. In coffee shops. In my car parked at overlooks around Lake Norman. Comparing notes until midnight. Lindsay told me about her marriage. How Derek had become distant after his promotion. How he'd started working late and taking business trips that never quite added up. How she convinced herself she was paranoid until she wasn't. I told her about Amanda, the woman I'd fallen in love with in grad school, spontaneous and full of life. How somewhere along the way, she'd become someone who treated our marriage like a chore. How I tried everything to reconnect. Date nights she'd cancel. Couples therapy she'd mock. Conversations she'd shut down. You know what the worst part is? Lindsay said one night, staring at the city lights reflected in the lake. I don't think Derek even loves her. I think he just loves not being bored. And Amanda doesn't love him either, I replied. She loves whoever she becomes when she's with him. Someone without responsibilities. Without a husband who reminds her she's not 25 anymore. We understood each other in a way that felt dangerous and necessary. The breakthrough came on a random Wednesday. Amanda had told me she was working from a client's office all day, a boutique hotel chain she'd supposedly landed as an account. I'd heard her on calls, talking about brand strategies and social media campaigns. It all sounded legitimate, but Lindsay had been digging. I called the hotel group, she told me over coffee. Asked to speak to their marketing director. They don't have one. They outsource everything to an agency in Atlanta. Amanda's never worked for them. The floor dropped out from under me. What are you saying? I'm saying she's been lying about more than the affair. The clients, the projects, maybe even the consultancy itself. I looked up her business registration. It exists on paper, but there's no revenue reported, no tax filings in 2 years. My mind reeled. So what has she been doing all day? Lindsay pulled out a folder, printed documents, bank statements she'd somehow obtained through Derek's shared accounts. Spending Derek's money. Look at these transactions. Nordstrom, Neiman Marcus, spas in South Park. She's not building a business, Marcus. She's building a fantasy life. That night, I went through Amanda's things. Her laptop, her files, her desk drawer. And I found it, a second phone. Cheap, prepaid. When I powered it on, there were dozens of texts to Derek, but also searches. Real estate listings in Asheville. Job postings in Charleston. Wedding venues in Savannah. Amanda wasn't just having an affair. She was planning an exit strategy. A whole new life. And I was the obstacle to be managed until the time was right. That's when things got complicated. 2 weeks later, Amanda started watching me. I'd meet Lindsay at a Barnes & Noble to exchange documents, and I'd spot Amanda's Mercedes in the parking lot. I'd come home late from what I claimed was a work emergency, and she'd be waiting up with questions. "You seem different lately," she said one night, sitting on the edge of our bed. "Distracted. Just work stress," I lied. She studied me with those hazel eyes that used to make me melt. "We should talk more. Reconnect. I feel like we've been drifting." It was disorienting, this sudden interest in our marriage right when I'd mentally left it. Then came the marriage counseling. I hadn't suggested it. Amanda had. Made the appointment herself with Dr. Patricia Morgan, a therapist with an office in Ballantyne. Amanda framed it as her idea, her initiative to save us. In our first session, Amanda cried. Actual tears. "I know I've been distant," she told Dr. Morgan, reaching for my hand. "I've been dealing with some things, stress about work, feeling unfulfilled. But I love Marcus. I don't want to lose him." It was a performance worthy of an Oscar. And I realized what was happening. She'd seen me with Lindsay. She didn't know the details, but she knew something had shifted. This was damage control. Preemptive strike. So I played along. I attended sessions. Nodded thoughtfully. Did the homework exercises. Held Amanda's hand and talked about rebuilding trust and improving communication. And the whole time, Lindsay and I kept digging. The real turning point came on a rainy Saturday in March. Lindsay and I were sitting in my car outside a Starbucks, reviewing our evidence, when her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and went pale. "It's my doctor's office," she said. She stepped out of the car to take the call. When she came back 10 minutes later, her hands were shaking. "I'm pregnant." Time stopped. "How far along?" I managed. 6 weeks. She wouldn't look at me. "Marcus, I haven't been with Derek in 2 months. We've been sleeping in separate bedrooms since I found the messages." The implication hung between us like smoke. There had been one night, one moment of weakness, or maybe strength, I still didn't know which. 3 weeks ago, after a particularly brutal surveillance session where we'd watched our spouses kiss in a parking garage like teenagers. We'd been sitting in Lindsay's car, both of us crying, and somehow comfort had turned into something else. It hadn't been reckless or passionate. It had been quiet, sad. 2 people reaching for something real in a sea of lies. "I don't know what to do," Lindsay whispered. I looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who'd become my partner in ways Amanda never had been. Who'd shown up. Who'd told the truth even when it hurt. "We'll figure it out," I said. "Together." She finally met my eyes. "You mean that?" "I mean that." The final counseling session was 2 weeks later. Amanda came prepared. I could tell by the way she sat. Spine straight, hands folded, like she was about to give a presentation. Dr. Morgan asked how we were feeling about our progress. "I've been doing a lot of soul searching," Amanda began. Her voice was soft, vulnerable, and I think maybe we've been holding on to something that's already ended. Maybe we both need space to figure out who we are separately. She looked at me with manufactured sadness. "I think we should consider a trial separation." Brilliant. Make it her idea. Control the narrative. Leave on her terms. Dr. Morgan turned to me. "Marcus, how do you feel about that?" I pulled a folder from my bag and placed it on the coffee table between us. "I think a trial separation is unnecessary," I said calmly. "These are divorce papers. They're ready to file. I just need your signature." Amanda's face went white. "What?" "No, Marcus, you're misunderstanding." "I'm not misunderstanding anything." I opened the folder. "Here's 6 months of documented evidence of your affair with Derek Chun. Photos, timestamps, credit card statements, hotel records. Here's proof that your consulting business is a shell. Here's your second phone with your real estate searches in Asheville and wedding venue inquiries in Savannah." The color drained from her face completely. "I know everything, Amanda. The only question is whether you sign these now or whether we do this in court where it becomes public record." Dr. Morgan looked stunned. Amanda looked like she might be sick. "Marcus, please." "I'm done," I said, standing. "With the lies, with the manipulation, with pretending we're something we haven't been for years. Sign the papers or don't. Either way, I'm filing next week." I walked out of that office and didn't look back. The party was at Amanda's colleague's house in Myers Park. A spring celebration. She called it weeks ago when she'd invited me. I'd RSVP'd yes back when she still thought she could fix things. I confirmed I was coming. Just didn't mention I'd have a +1. Lindsay and I arrived 23 minutes late. Deliberately. The house was impressive. White columns, manicured lawn, valet parking. Inside, I could hear Amanda's laughter floating through open French doors. That performance laugh she perfected. We walked in together, Lindsay's hand in mine. The living room was packed. Maybe 40 people, champagne flutes, catered appetizers. And there, on a cream sofa near the fireplace, sat Amanda and Derek. Close but not too close. Careful. Then they saw us. Amanda's champagne glass hit the floor. The sound of shattering crystal silenced the room. Derek went rigid. Lindsay squeezed my hand. I smiled and walked forward. "Sorry we're late," I said pleasantly. Traffic was brutal. Amanda stood slowly. Her eyes darted between me, Lindsay, Derek. "Marcus, who is?" "This is Lindsay Chun," I said clearly, projecting so the room could hear. "Derek's wife. I thought it was time we all met properly. Clear the air. You could have her to pin drop." Derek had gone pale. Someone in the back muttered, "Oh shit." I reached into my jacket and pulled out 2 envelopes. Placed them on the marble coffee table. "These are divorce papers. Mine are signed. I just need yours, Amanda." I turned to Derek. "And Lindsay has a similar set for you." Amanda's voice cracked. "Not here. Please, Marcus, not like this." "Like what?" I asked calmly. "Publicly? With witnesses?" "That's interesting, considering you two had no problem conducting your relationship publicly for 6 months. You just assumed no one was watching." The room was frozen. Someone's phone was definitely recording. Derek finally found his voice. "Amanda, we should—" He reached for her arm. She jerked away violently. "Don't touch me." And just like that, the facade cracked wide open. Amanda's carefully constructed world, the one where she was the victim, where she was simply unhappy in her marriage, where she deserved her secret life, it all fell apart in front of Charlotte's professional elite. "You did this," she hissed at me. "You've been planning this. I've been documenting this." I corrected. "There's a difference. You built this situation, Amanda. I just made sure everyone could see what you built." Lindsay and I turned to leave. Behind us, chaos erupted. Amanda's voice rising. Derek trying to calm her. Guests whispering, phones out, social media posts already being drafted. As we reached the door, Amanda called out one last time. "Marcus, wait. Please, we can talk about this." I looked back at her, really looked at her. This woman I'd loved, who'd become someone I didn't recognize. "You wanted freedom, Amanda. You wanted to be someone else, somewhere else. Congratulations. You're free." And we walked out into the cool April night. 4 months later, I stood in a hospital room at Atrium Health, holding a 6-pound, 8-ounce miracle wrapped in a blue blanket. Lindsay sat propped up in bed, exhausted and radiant, watching me with those clear blue eyes that had become my anchor. "He has your nose," she said softly. "He has your chin," I replied. We'd named him James. No drama, no complicated backstory attached to it. Just James. The pregnancy had forced decisions. Lindsay had filed for divorce immediately after the party. Derek had contested nothing, too afraid of what else might come out. I'd moved into a condo in Dilworth. Lindsay had moved in 2 months later when her lease ended. We weren't rushing anything. No engagement, no wedding plans. Just 2 people who'd found each other in the wreckage of their old lives, trying to build something honest. Amanda had moved to Asheville. I knew because the divorce was final, and her lawyer had provided a forwarding address. She'd posted on social media once, some vague thing about new beginnings and finding yourself. I'd blocked her after that, not out of anger, just out of necessity. Derek had apparently moved to Atlanta. Lindsay didn't ask for details. As I held James, watching his tiny chest rise and fall, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. My phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. Unknown number. "Were you ever happy with me?" "Even once." "Amanda." I stared at the message for a long time. The question was impossible, cruel in its simplicity. Because yes, I had been happy. Once. Before the lies, before the performance, before we became strangers wearing wedding rings. But that happiness felt like it had belonged to different people. People we'd pretended to be before we couldn't pretend anymore. I could have typed a dozen responses. Could have been kind or cruel. honest, or dismissive. Instead, I deleted the message, blocked the number. Lindsay looked up at me. "Everything okay?" "Everything's perfect," I said, and I meant it. Outside, spring rain began to fall against the hospital windows. Inside, James yawned and stretched his tiny fists. And I thought about endings and beginnings, about how sometimes you have to tear everything down to find out what was real. I didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of it. That had to count for something.